What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 13, the unlucky number of Press YYZ, a video game podcast. This is your one-stop shop where we bring you all the best video game news and discussion with a with a uniquely Canadian twist. You can find us on Twitter at Press YYZ, where we appreciate any feedback you may have. This week, we're going to talk about the March sales numbers of many of the games that came out, updates to Nintendo games, and we're going to wrap everything up with a video game rehab of one of my favorite franchises, Mass Effect. I'm your host for today, who can't read apparently, Alex Ballant, joined by Mitch George.
What is a Mass Effect?
Well, I mean, you see, there's these giant spaceships.
Pornography.
We're also joined by AJ.
Heavier.
We're also joined by AJ Fraser.
I spoke to my girlfriend, and she has given the thumbs up on the term nips. So you're welcome, everybody.
I still don't like it.
Alexander Kazina.
Hey everybody, I'm broadcasting from the 7th dimension today.
Nice. I've heard that's where the real good stuff happens. And finally, to round out our cast, Nathan McInerney.
Hey guys. Yeah, you got it.
You got it right the second time.
Woo! Got it the second time.
Hey.
It takes at least 3 times hosting to not screw up his name.
Yeah, as soon as I said it, I'm like, wait. And so had to immediately jump back on that. But, you know, we're all learning. It's a learning process. So how's everybody doing? How's it going since last week?
Depressing. Quarantine is depressing, guys.
Oh, yeah,
I can't
definitely.
sleep. I can't eat. It's been a real bad week for me, to be honest.
It's been a weird week, even for me, actually. But
How so?
Well, just in the fact that I've previously, before the quarantine started up, I was actually getting to bed at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., which for me is pretty good, and then I was getting up at like 10, 11 a.m., which is, again, for me, pretty good, and I totally fell back into bad habits once the quarantine kicked in and started waking up at like 2 p.m., 3 p.m., and so I've been trying to kind of reset my sleep schedule this week and get back into a good rhythm of things. That, and also like the work has started up again. I'm currently working on an assignment for gamers. There was a brief period of time where I had all the time in the world to play video games, and yeah, now it's just over. So it's still certainly not terrible, but you know, nothing good ever lasts.
Yeah, I definitely know that having something to work on can always be a blessing when you have unlimited amount of time to play games. It's just, it kind of gets redundant, at least I find so. So having that nice balance is nice, but unfortunately there is no balance right now.
No, there's one speed. That's it.
Yeah.
That speed and that balance for me tends to be YouTube rabbit holes, and I found myself down a weird. No, I guess it's not weird. Just as kind of a scientific rabbit hole on YouTube. This one channel that I just sort of fell right into is called Nile Red. I don't know if you guys have heard of it.
Nope.
Yeah, he references Veritasium a lot, so he's clearly a fan of him. But this Nile Red guy, he's got his own laboratory and Patreon and stuff like that, and he just does these really well narrated science experiments. Like one of them, he burned diamonds to collect the CO2 off of them, and then put it into a soda stream so that he could have diamond CO2 carbonated water.
Ooh,
that seems like an expensive hobby.
It seems like it would hurt your insides.
Well, maybe it's just CO2 off of diamonds, but it's the most expensive water in the world. So, that's kind of the rut I've fallen into. Like I'll want to boot up Minecraft or something, and then I just don't.
The rut I've fallen into as far as YouTube video stuff goes is I've been watching this channel called Guga Foods, which basically is this guy that makes the most expensive. Oh, looks like we were a man down. I'll just proceed as normal. Watching this YouTube channel called Guga Foods, where it's this guy that makes the most like expensive Wagyu steak, Philadelphia cheesesteaks, and all these like delicious meat dishes that cost a fortune to create. Outside of the realm of YouTube, however, I've been playing a game that our man down, Mr. Mitch George, he's back now, that Mr. Mitch George and Alex Ballant have been playing, which is Final Fantasy VII.
It is.
I am not very
still.
far into it. I am well off from completing it, but man, I am loving this game, and I am astounded by the amount of work that has gone into the camera angles in this game. It feels like every 2 seconds it cuts and shows a completely different angle on whatever action is currently going on, and it's a thing of beauty, man.
It is such a stylish game.
Yeah.
It's incredible the things they've done with even the backgrounds. Like, they're static, but it still just looks like an extension of the rest of the game, and it's just, the world feels so lived in a way that no other game has really felt that way for me in quite some time. But I went down a bit of a rut myself, and that's kind of based on my wardrobe change. I fell deep down a Disney rabbit hole this week. So I've been watching a lot of Disney Plus. I've been rewatching The Imagineering Story. For those who haven't seen it, it's a 6-part documentary series on Disney Plus about the history of the Disney parks and how they came to be. And it's not all, sunshine and rainbows. They do talk about a lot of the struggles, a lot of the financial and leadership issues they've had over the years. And it's a really interesting watch. I'm enjoying it very much so, again, the second time. And I've just... this past weekend, I also jumped into a Twitch stream from the nanobiologist, who basically did a day at Disneyland with an Xbox 360 game and some POV videos of the rides. And guys, I want to go back so bad. I didn't think I'd go through this kind of withdrawal from Disney, but I really, 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 really want to go back. And my honeymoon later this year, we had thought about doing Europe and making Paris and Disneyland Paris a stop on that trip, and now that may or may not happen. I'm betting more towards may not. It may be a more domestic honeymoon, and if that could include the US, maybe that includes Disney, but if not, I don't know. It's just the little things that you really want to come back to normal, even just like the daily or weekly videos I'd watch from Disney bloggers like Disney Food Blog, the Tim Tracker, and a few others. That I'm really missing that kind of content right now too, just new videos of people in the parks, and it's definitely something I miss.
Yeah, just before everything shut down and all that, you just see videos everywhere of people going to Star Wars, Galaxy's Edge, and stuff like that, and it's just I want to go to Star Wars.
And I think Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway had just opened 4 or 5 days prior to the shutdown in Disney's Hollywood Studios in Florida, and that ride looks incredible. I really want to get back there for that.
So in Japan, aren't they supposed to be opening at some point Nintendo Land?
I thought
that's Universal.
Part of Universal.
Yeah.
It's a Universal park, right?
Yeah.
But
it's part of Universal Studios Tokyo.
Yeah.
No. Tokyo Super Mario Land or Super Nintendo Land was supposed to open this year.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was supposed to open for the Olympics.
For the Olympics, yeah.
Oh.
Which obviously is going to get, or has obviously been delayed. So anything that was going to tie into Nintendo around the Olympics, the Mario and Sonic game, which did end up coming out. The Super Mario movie was supposed to come out next year. We'll see if that's still the case.
With that.
Dude, it's going to be good. It's Illumination. Illumination is good.
Can it be as good as the original Super
Carmen,
Mario Brothers?
Carmen is listening, and
are
she
you for
loves
real?
the Minions. You cannot talk shit about the Minions.
I can't.
No.
My brain is melting out of my ears right now hearing all of that right there.
Banana.
I have confidence that if it ever comes out, they'll be able to pull it off, but my interest level in it is next to nothing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just really like the old Super Mario Brothers movie. Why can't we re-release that?
It was a really, really creative movie that I don't think
one
enough
word
people
for it.
appreciate.
Nathan, you saying that is why I put on a Leafs hat and not the hat I was wearing before, because you deserve this. You deserve this.
Like, who in their mind is like, you know what? We're going to adapt Super Mario Brothers for the silver screen. Let's make it like a kid-friendly version of Blade Runner.
Yes.
Like that, it takes serious balls to come up with a premise like that.
And it didn't
I
pay
give them
off.
a lot of credit.
It's a really good film. I think it's vastly... I think people just couldn't understand it at the time when it came out. It's one of those films that people need to go back and revisit.
No, it isn't. Let it die.
So, I took a chance. I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But
Really?
in between Animal Crossing, I started a little miniseries on Netflix called Tiger King.
Finally.
Oh, nice.
So I'm a little late to the party, but I'm 3 episodes in. It's really fantastic.
I hear he likes cats.
I did notice last night they released a new episode, which is just Joel McHale interviewing the cast, which is kind of crazy in itself. I kind of want to give that a watch tonight.
Considering that we're talking about Netflix for a brief sec here, I figure I should mention that I also watch a Netflix series called Beastars. It is an anime. Specifically, what's interesting about it, I'm trying to process my thoughts because there's a lot to talk about here. It's an anime that's done in that 3D animated style.
Okay.
So like in the same style as like that Godzilla anime, which perhaps you've seen a preview for
Or
on
the
Netflix.
or the new Saint Seiya Netflix series, Knights of the Zodiac, the Netflix one.
Yeah,
Sort of like
sure.
that?
Yeah, in that kind of style. It is a show about a bunch of kind of anthropomorphic animals that attend a high school, and it is way more serious in tone than you might initially think. It basically deals with how these animals have a difficult time controlling their urges, and every now and then one of the animals decides to devour one of the other plant-loving animals, and kind of all the interesting situations and drama that emerges from that. I don't want to give away much more because it's one of those series that I think is best enjoyed going into with a blank slate. So go and give that a shot, and don't be deterred by the animation style if that's the kind of thing that interests you. I'll say that.
So I did actually play some video games this week. The main one, other than continuing to play Final Fantasy VII Remake to get ready for my hard mode run on twitch.tv/Press YYZ, is I got into the DLC for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
Oh, how's that?
So the okay. There were a lot of people that did not enjoy that game. I can see their problems with the game. I had a lot of fun with it. So coming back to so I came back for the Marvel Knights DLC. I didn't even come back for the X-Men DLC because it was more of the same. It was just more challenge mode kind of stuff, which isn't really my cup of tea. But the most recent DLC release, the third pack, is Fantastic Four themed, has story content, and I've been enjoying it thus far. I mean, it's more of the same. If you liked the game, you're going to like this Fantastic Four DLC. Is the entire DLC package worth it? If you don't like challenge mode stuff, absolutely not. Do not buy it if that's not your cup of tea. I made that mistake, but it's a game I really enjoy. It's fun getting back into it. It's nice having something that isn't Final Fantasy to play when I need a break from Final Fantasy. But goddamn, I'm going to go back to Final Fantasy. It's so good. I'm now 3 trophies away from the platinum, one of which being completed on hard mode.
Ooh.
So,
Good job.
fingers crossed.
I'm very proud of you.
I myself have also been playing Final Fantasy Remake, and so I got to a point in the game. I'm not going to say what it is because it's a little bit of a spoiler.
We are planning
It's
to do
weird.
a spoiler episode with just myself,
Oh, yeah.
Cozy, and Alex once
would be-
we finish the game, and we will spoil the ever-living Chagrin out of this game. So just keep an eye
that
out
would
for
be-
that.
That would be great. But so there's a boss fight in the game that's very strange. It's about halfway through, and it's in an arena. I'm just trying to give vague enough hints that people probably know if they know what it is. But I was partaking in a legal substance that is legal here in Canada. And
I thought you meant in the game.
no, in real life. And right at the moment where that boss appeared was when I could feel it, and it
Oh,
was
boy.
weird. I wish I could say more, but Final Fantasy is a very weird game because like you get like this like sci-fi like almost like cyberpunky type stuff like aesthetic to it, but then there's all of these fantasy elements to it, like the chocobos and like weird creatures that are not just like monsters, but they're like fantasy monsters that just,
the materia system with
Yeah, it's
spells
always-
and all that kind of thing too, right?
every time that stuff keeps coming up, I ask myself like, what game am I playing again? Because it feels kind of it's really weird how those two things kind of clash together. And I know that was kind of
Were you forgetting because of the substance or because
no,
of
just
the...
no. That happened. That's happened a lot of the time. That's happened a lot of the time. A lot of the time, just in general, of just like, wow, this really feels like it's kind of clashing of like two different aesthetics. But I mean, yeah, the substance didn't help.
No, I would agree with you. It does feel like a product of the time that it was released, right? Because there was polygonal RPG style graphics and those things didn't look so weird side by side. And we're getting to a point that the human models are so photorealistic, like you're getting close to uncanny valley territory where that all looks so good that seeing the weird fantasy elements next to it is almost like it doesn't seem like it should be in this world. I totally agree with you on that. That's something I ran into a bunch.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's only like continuing the further that I'm getting into the game. But yeah, I'm really excited to keep playing it. I'm about like 28 hours in, so I'm pretty close to the end, I'm pretty sure.
No, you're not.
Okay, well, there's another... Well, I mean, in comparison to the amount... I've got way more behind me than in front of me.
Did you go around doing all the side quests and everything, or did you let that all pass you by?
There's a certain point where I was just like, I want to keep going with the main story.
All right, you're probably maybe 5-7 hours left then. But I would say the fight that you just finished, based on conversations we've had, was probably the weirdest in the game. I think so.
Yeah, I think it's the most... You'll
Is it
know
when
it
you
as
fight
soon as
Sora?
you get to it in the game. That is for sure. But yeah, I've also... I haven't just been playing Final Fantasy this week. I've also been doing a lot of content creation on my side. There's
I saw this.
Yes. So one thing that I did do is for my final project, I released my short film. It's right now unlisted on YouTube just because I technically don't have I technically own only part of the copyright to release it. So I'm able to like send it to people, but I can't technically have it on YouTube. So it's unlisted.
It can go in your portfolio, but that's about it.
Yeah. So, it's very great. Well, I mean, it was very great, like, having it be finished, having something that I made that I've been, like, conceptually thinking about for the last 5 or 6 months, like actually become real. Because it's basically, like, right at the day one of film school, they're like, come up with an idea for a 4-minute short film where it doesn't have any dialogue. And so then from there, it just kind of it gets iterated upon until finally it gets made. And I was really, really proud of it. And yeah, and so I sent it to the YYZ crew, and AJ immediately pointed out a spelling mistake I made in it.
You're welcome.
God damn it.
I
Little late for that.
I
I
watched
want
it.
thanks in the credits.
I literally watched it probably 100 times, and I never noticed it.
It always helps to get a second set of eyes on
Yeah.
things like that, because you watching it as much as you were, you're going to, things are going to start to burn in. That happens to me too with work, with code, is I look at the same thing so many times I can't figure out why something's not working. One person comes over and looks for 2 minutes. It's like, oh yeah, there's your problem.
Yeah. Oh, but aside from that I've been working on for however long and the short film is called Bon Appetit. It's about a guy who likes... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, it was great. I
praise me?
really enjoyed it. Yeah, way to go.
Thank you. I'm really happy with it. But as well, I made a video for my YouTube channel about PlayStation covers and the inside and the interior art that you find in the PlayStation covers, because this was something that I noticed with Marvel Spider-Man, that it had a reversible cover that actually had the PlayStation logo on the spine of the game, and I had never seen that in any other game that had a reversible cover, and so I made a whole video around it. It's on my YouTube channel. Blatant Films, I believe is what it's called. I have so many dumb names for it. I think
You
it's
really gotta come up with like one brand, because you've got Blatantly Alex, Blatantly _Alex, Alex Ballon.
Okay, well that's because
Blatant
I couldn't get
Films.
Yeah, that's because I couldn't get it. I couldn't get my Twitter to not have the underscore. But
Actually,
regardless,
Disregard for continuate.
yeah. But regardless,
Whatever the word is.
regardless,
Continuity was the word we were looking
Continuity.
for.
Yeah.
I word good.
regardless, I'm really happy with that video. It's something that I've been kind of like I've ranted about just to people I know, just in general, and so I finally like just made it, and I have been having a lot of fun with YouTube, and I think I'm going to continue doing it. And the next video is going to be a highlight video of whenever I eventually get around to doing the Steam controller Doom Eternal mission.
I cannot wait for that stream. It's gonna be so good.
I've already made a little intro for it, and I think it's a YouTube video is going to be successful when you download footage of the Hindenburg burning down.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
You
So
sure about that?
that's a little preview of what I've been working on.
Can we turn this into a series with back?
excited
for that.
Yes.
And where can people catch that stream when it is live?
That stream will be on this Twitch channel that if you are watching live, but if you are not and you're listening on podcast services, it's on twitch.tv/Press YYZ. And also follow me on Twitter at blatantly_Alex, and I'll make the big announcement of when it's going to actually happen. I'm going to give people a couple of days to at least know about it before I
wrap their brain
go.
around the idea that, oh my God, it's actually happening.
We'll use the show podcast account to advertise it as well, since it's on our channel. So just keep an eye on Press YYZ on Twitter or blatantly.
Yeah, you don't have to follow
Alex.
me. You don't have to follow me.
Yep, just follow the show. You'll get all our fun stuff there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically what I've been doing. I've been doing a lot of content creation. I've also did do a stream last night on Tuesday, April 21st, and I played Halo Reach on Legendary, and Mitch watched me die probably like 200 times.
That's how I was able to justify just paying attention to the story of the Marvel Ultimate Alliance DLC and not you.
I started playing a little bit of Halo on PC, Halo Reach, doing my own little bit of a Legendary playthrough, just kind of getting a feel for it.
It's so hard.
That game is very hard. That game is very good as well.
Reach is great, but it's one of the hardest ones.
Is it bad that I couldn't tell what game you were playing? I just figured it was a Halo.
Because they all look the same.
I mean,
all right, switch to 4 people. Cut him out, please. Right. Thank you.
All right, that's the end of the episode, guys. Thank you for watching.
It was fun being here.
Yeah.
Everything from this point on is the post show.
I unfortunately didn't see the part of your stream where you were playing that. I did tune in for a bit while you were playing Halo CE multiplayer as well. But Halo Reach is very difficult. It plays really well on PC. I did have to remap some keyboard controls.
The default keyboard layout is not the best.
It's a little weird to throw grenades when you're used to left trigger, right trigger stuff. Yeah. So.
But one thing that I'm actually, I've been perusing the Halo subreddit, and from what people can kind of discern is I think Halo 2 Anniversary is probably going to be coming out in either next week or the week after.
I think I heard this.
Depending on because the thing is, I don't think it's gonna be next Tuesday because Gears Tactics comes out and there's no way Microsoft's gonna directly compete with themselves. But I think it's gonna be May 5th is gonna be when Halo 2 Anniversary comes out, because when Halo CE came to PC, as soon as they ended the flight, it immediately came out, and they're just about to end the flight like this week. So there's a really good chance that Halo 2 Anniversary is going to be out on PC, and I'm so excited for it. It looks great. It looks like a godsend.
Testing.
Hey! We were, for the audio listeners, the Discord was lagging and we couldn't see or hear Nathan, and now he's back.
He was also paused on the stream for a good 5 to 7 minutes.
Yeah, his head was just down. He was looking very sad and somber.
It looked like he just couldn't stand
ironically,
yeah.
I mean, I don't blame him.
Ironically, I saw you guys perfectly, and I had no idea that there was a problem.
I'm glad I sent you that message then. Otherwise, we would have done this whole show.
I kept trying to talk, and I was like, maybe I'm just not getting the right space in. But it's fine.
We just don't like you.
Yeah,
we don't like you all
fair.
that much.
Again?
I'm glad I thought to send you a message after about 10 minutes.
All right. So,
that recording's going to sound so weird.
Oh, it's going to be fun having to edit.
Sorry.
I can't wait.
Leave it in.
There'll just be random.
You know what? Cut the section out and put it at the end. That's an Easter egg.
For all our most dedicated listeners.
Yes.
Yeah, everyone on Twitch saw how poorly that went.
Hey guys, welcome to Press YYZ, where we bring you the most quality of content.
Are we restarting the podcast here?
No, this is the post show, remember?
Can I plug one more thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, sure.
So I got a chance to play Sekiro Shooting Stars Bravo for the Switch as a review. I think I may have mentioned that I played Sekiro Shooting Stars Alpha a little while ago. It's a shmup collection. Are you guys familiar with the term shmup?
No. What did you just call me?
As in shoot 'em up, as in bullet
okay.
hell, as in lots of
Okay.
thingies on the screen trying to kill you.
Yeah. So early
Think
90s.
like Gradius, that sort of thing.
Yeah, Gradius. So this one has a bunch of cool games in the collection that are shoot 'em ups. Very fun, great collection overall. One of them's actually a brick breaker and a shoot 'em up combined, which is really cool.
That sounds like it's right up my alley.
Yeah, I think the collection is, I want to say it's 39 American, so it's a little more Canadian. But if you can get it on sale, it's a great collection of games.
I'll keep an eye on it.
Not gonna lie, when you first said it, I thought you mispronounced Sekiro, and I thought it was some weird spin-off.
No,
Sekiro for the Switch.
I'm not even sure I'm saying Sikyo right. It's Psikyo.
That's close enough.
Pskio.
Yeah, Cozy, you spent time in Japan. How is that pronounced? What is the phonetics of that?
I mean, you don't really see a lot of people with P's and S's and K's all in a row. You do see a lot of TSUs all in a row because there's a lot of Japanese words that use that. But I don't know. Sikio, I guess, is probably the most correct. I don't know.
As close as we're gonna get. Back to you, Alex.
All right, so that seems to wrap up nicely what we've been playing, I'd like to think, and what we've been doing. We got a nice bit of conversation in there, but with that, we're going to jump right into the weekly news dump, and I'm not going to make fun of how it's called the dump, because this is a dump.
Dump it all over me, Alex.
Ready, set, go. News drop.
There's some decent articles in there, some well-written pieces by some writers who do a really good job every day.
I'm not denying that. This is all well-written stuff. And our first one that we're going to delve into of the well-written nature is something that we all should be generally aware of, is Nintendo is investigating a sudden rise in unauthorized login attempts. From GameIndustry.biz, the writer of it is Hayden Taylor. And so, to sum it up, because I've read through it. Apparently, earlier this week, Nintendo sent out advised users to activate their two-factor authenticators because there's been a lot of third-party logins that have been happening. And I mean, what do we think about this? A lot of people have a lot of time on their hands. They want to try to get your Nintendo account. They want to try to get your nips.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
hands off my
allegedly
nips.
it was just a brute force password attack where people's previously compromised passwords were used to try to get into their Nintendo accounts. And I added this in here just because I want more people to be aware that if you have the option of using two-factor authentication, it may be a pain in the ass, but do it. If you have even more time, invest in a password manager where you can randomize your passwords and have them be very complex. Does that make logging into devices without your password manager difficult? Absolutely. Signing into my PlayStation or my Switch is an absolute nightmare. Is it worth it because people aren't stealing my money and buying V-Bucks in Fortnite? 120%. So protect your online shit.
Specifically with the Nintendo is using Google's authenticator. And I had an experience with Google's authenticator and Discord once. This is actually my second Discord account because I screwed up and lost the reactivation codes when I had to factory reset my phone at one point for my original Discord account. And it can be a nightmare. So take it seriously that, hey, you want to lock your account down and make sure nobody else gets access to it, but also take it seriously in keep the recovery codes and in a safe spot, and make sure you write them down somewhere, make sure they're not going to go missing, and make sure you know where they are and how to get them.
You don't have to use Google Authenticator with Nintendo. I use LastPass as a Really? Because I use LastPass as a password manager, and I use LastPass for my Nintendo account.
It made me use Google Authenticator.
Strange.
So were there any reports of people actually getting successfully hacked into and getting their accounts compromised, or just Nintendo giving out the warning?
No, people's accounts were compromised. People were seeing purchases of hundreds of dollars worth of V-Bucks, which is Fortnite's digital currency, on their accounts that they'd never authorized. Nintendo's store also isn't great. It's literally like a 3-button press, and I've purchased something on my credit card because I'm the only one that uses the Switch. So I don't anticipate someone going in and buying stuff, but I probably should make it so I have to put in a password every so often.
Oh,
I have it set up that every time I log into the store, I have to put in the password, which is tedious, but I'm glad
me
that I
too.
have it.
For me, it's just tedious because it is a secure password, so it's not it's not an easy one to type out. So it would take me a while. So I'm more so just falling back on my password strength to keep me safe.
I mean, I realize this probably
And 2FA.
This reflects on the fact that I don't use my Switch a whole lot often, but I actually didn't realize that you could turn that off. And specifically, when I say turn that off, I mean turn off having to re-enter your password every time that you log into the shop to buy something.
Yeah, no, you don't have to have that enabled. I figure 2FA is enough to protect my
Yeah,
account.
because I'm actually on the other hand where I actually would prefer to not have that every time I buy something, so I'm going to look into that. But I will also be looking into two-factor authentication because you're right, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely.
I've put passwords on any store because I woke up one morning and my kids had purchased all the Peggle DLC by accident.
Oh.
That sounds like smart kids.
Well, look, the Peggle DLC is fine. Thankfully, it wasn't something worse, but when the Peggle 2 opens, it sits right at the store icon.
Oh, scumbags.
I blame EA for that one.
That's a classic EA move from that time. Hopefully, they're getting better. But at the minute that happened,
Spoiler alert, they're
passwords
not getting
went...
better.
Wait, aren't they? Slightly?
Kinda, in some
They
places.
want us to think.
It depends on the game.
Like, Star Wars was good. They had a good Star Wars game. They've kind of fixed Battlefront.
Apex is good, but
Apex is good. No loot boxes in Need for Speed.
yeah.
They're still
They
a scummy
fixed up-
company. They're still trying to get
I mean,
your
they
money.
have fixed up Battlefront 2.
It took them a long time to
that
recover
was more
from that,
DICE,
though.
That was less EA and more just DICE.
I mean,
Well, it was probably more so the mouse pressuring EA to be like, no, you're ruining our brand. Fix this now or we're pulling the license.
I'm not trying to play
that's true.
corporate apologist for EA. I'm just saying they do have good stuff.
Yes.
yeah, they've got good games, that's for sure. And we're going to talk about some of those good games later in the Mass Effect trilogy. But,
Spoilers.
well, we're going to talk about some of the good ones and one of the not so good ones. But
right.
until then, all the people who use their two-factor authenticators can buy games like Animal Crossing New Horizon, which tops the software sales charts of the month of March. Thank you. I'm getting the seal of approval from Mitch on my transition skills.
Nailed
That was
it.
a good one.
So this next article that we're jumping into is from VG247, and it's NPD numbers for March 2020, and Animal Crossing New Horizon is at the top of that sales chart, and we can
Surprising nobody.
So, like, if you were to log in right now to the group chat for Press YYZ on Discord, you would be surprised to discover that the single thing that it has been talked about there the most over the past 4 months has not been, hey, what are we talking about on the podcast? Hey, what should I do for my streaming setup? What kind of PC components do I need for my new PC? It's this
That has come up.
forking
been some of
Animal Crossing New Horizons turnip market and everything surrounding it. And I have come so close to being like, guys, can you just do it somewhere else? But then I fear that if you guys do
Then
that,
he gets a
then
giggle
it's
at our
just-
nips, and
No, then it's going to be the four of you talking amongst yourselves in another thread, and I'm going to be all by myself in the other one.
So just so you know, Cozy, as you were saying that, I created a Nip Talk thread.
Oh, no.
So we can not bother you
Wait.
with all of our Animal Crossing
It's
discussion
2 weeks
anymore.
in a row where you've brought it up how
right.
you're consciously aware of how much
I
we've been
don't
talking
want to
about
upset
Animal
you.
Crossing.
I want to keep that chat professional and not about AJ's
I mean, I
names.
hope that we still manage to all remain close together amidst all of this. But if we don't, I'm probably going to have to jump off of you guys and create a new podcast called Press XYZ.
You can't do that. You do all the streaming and stuff. We'd lose all of this.
I'll export my streaming setup and I'll give it to you. I won't give you the instructions on how to use it, but I'll
God
give
damn
you
it,
all the
Cozy.
tools you need, and the rest is in the mind.
Okay, we need to do this show long enough that you can teach me how to do what you do, so that I can do
yeah,
it better.
we all need backup plans these days.
But how amazing are the Animal Crossing sales? Apparently, it's the
ridiculous.
second best game of the year behind Call of Duty.
It's the best-selling game of the franchise. It's one of
Yeah.
the top-selling games on the Switch already after a month.
Third,
like-
it's the third.
What are the
No,
which
sorry.
Are which are the first two? Is it Pokemon and
So Pokemon was the fastest-selling. and I think
Is it Mario Kart or is it Smash?
probably Mario Kart or Smash.
Yeah.
Hopefully someone in
Yeah.
the chat will fact check us, but
I wonder if
it's doing gangbusters right now. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up selling more than last year's Pokemon game or 2018's Pokemon game, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Based on where I looked at the Switch sales charts, I think that's around 7. And I think that Animal Crossing could actually supplant that and land itself in a nice spot in the top 10 Switch sales overall. It's crazy how well this game is sold.
And all the numbers I think are physical sales too. None of it's digital right now.
Nintendo does not report digital sales numbers, so that's all physical. You have to
Yeah.
imagine with the situation we're living in that the majority of sales were probably digital.
Yeah,
So-
they're on. It's not on this article specifically, but I know like Doom Eternal's physical sales, they were only like number 6 for this month, but that also isn't accounting for digital sales or for Steam sales, and I have a feeling that Steam is probably where Doom Eternal really like shined through. So, like, it's really interesting to see just how much of a juggernaut Animal Crossing is with its limited, well, what felt like a limited physical release, because I couldn't even get it physically because EB Games was they weren't closed, but they were only keeping it to people who had pre-orders.
I'm also really impressed with Nintendo and how they're continuing to support it. You guys all saw the video with all the updates coming, right?
I haven't checked
Yes.
out what it actually is, but I know that there is the. So can I get like a bullet point of what some of the updates are?
There's an Earth Day sloth that scares me and is going to be in my nightmares for the next couple of weeks.
It's nowhere near as scary as Zipper, the bunny.
Yes, it is. It looks
actually,
like a clown farted in its face.
Are there
people are really excited about the sloth.
Okay.
No, so he's going to be selling bushes. So if you
Okay,
enjoy
cool.
bush, he's the person you talk to.
Yeah, they're adding shrubs to the game. They're
Yeah.
adding an Earth Day event. They're adding some
There's
other
a
stuff.
there's a wedding event coming up for
That's
June.
going to kill me.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry about that.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
No. But there's a museum expansion, so they're going to be adding artwork. So there's going to be like a guy who comes up on the pier, and you can buy, apparently try and figure out whether it's forged or real artwork, and then it goes on display in the museum, in the upgraded museum.
Interesting. Okay.
So they're treating it like it's a live service, and what I really like is people who are time hopping won't be able to get access to these early the way Nintendo's releasing the updates.
Oh, that's cool.
Do they have?
Yeah, because they're pushing actual patches to the game. It's not just timed
Do they
events.
have animals
Yeah.
in Animal Crossing that are based off of the animals from Ice Age?
Like a mammoth?
like the actual
Yeah, like the
characters?
mammoth, the weird,
No.
like prehistoric sloth guy, the saber-toothed tiger, the rat.
I mean, there are rats and sloths and tigers, but they're not explicitly based on the characters from Ice Age.
Why not?
I want a Ray Ramon Animal Crossing character. That's
Yeah,
what
just-
I've
just
discovered
Ray
from
But it
Ramon.
would be
research.
Ray Ramon gibberish.
Just Ray Ramon on his own.
You know, I need to check out that Scrat Ice Age game that came out a little while ago. I heard that was like a fun platinum or something.
I mean, after the acquisition of Fox by Disney, you can catch all the Ice Age movies on Disney Plus. So just go
Oh,
check them out there
true.
and keep them out of my Animal Crossings.
One other thing that I'd like to just, when we're still talking about sales of games, Final Fantasy VII Remake has been doing exceptionally well, shipping 3.5 million units in the first 3 days, which is pretty crazy, especially for the fact that it's a PS4 exclusive game. I think
That's
is-
also shipped. That's not sold through.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a discrepancy there, but even then, like that's not digital numbers either with the current situation. Again, digital probably reigns supreme for this release, so
Yeah, I could imagine.
it's still an incredible launch for what is a first party exclusive, timed at
At
least
least
for now.
until 2021 is what it said on my physical copy of the game.
Yeah, I think it's a 1 year timed release, similar to what Square Enix has been doing with the Tomb Raider games.
Well,
yeah,
only
no, it's
one
great.
of the Tomb Raider games.
Was it only one? I thought they were all
It was,
timed exclusive.
it was only Rise.
Yeah, Rise of the Tomb Raider. That was the big one because the original one was on everyone, and then when Rise was announced as an Xbox exclusive, everybody was pissed.
Yeah.
On PlayStation.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was not
Yeah.
pissed.
Because you were playing it.
I have not played it. Because I have all the things, so I was not upset about that information. I could play it anywhere.
It came to PlayStation a year later and it had every single piece of DLC and extra stuff added into it.
It was like
when
the
came, so-
Game of the Year edition almost.
Yeah, and a special PSVR thing that would make you throw up. if you're looking to throw up.
That's most PSVR things.
This one was especially bad.
Can we go back to talking about Ice Age?
No.
Why not?
Alex, next thing, please.
Okay, so I mean, I guess speaking of things that make me want to throw up, that's not Ice Age. Call of Duty Warzone cheaters are being matched together as punishment, which I think is the greatest thing that Infinity Ward could have
Hell
ever
yeah.
done for
So-
Infinity.
It's
or
better
for-
than banning
So
them.
Yeah.
let's talk about this. When I played Call of Duty Warzone a few weeks back, I didn't encounter any cheaters. If someone were
Me
to
neither,
go,
and I've been playing on PC.
well, if somebody were to go into a Call of Duty Warzone game and were to encounter a cheater, what kind of cheaterish activity could one expect to experience?
I mean, it's probably things like aimbotting and wall hacking, like being able to see
Okay.
through walls, and
See-
like equipment, like being able to see equipment on the map, like things like that. Like
See, I was hoping
Yeah.
that like the kind of cheating that these Call of Duty Warzone players are engaging in would be really kind of inventive, wacky stuff. But that's like that's not. If you're
It's
going to
pretty
cheat and you're going to
standard.
be like, oh man, I'm going to do an aimbot. It's like you can't even cheat in a creative way, you know?
I mean, you don't have to be creative when those ways have been effective, but I'm glad Infinity Ward is taking a stand in a game that is as popular as it is during this quarantine and saying, no, we're not going to allow this. We're going to figure out ways to find these people and quarantine them themselves into matches with only each other that
Put
are
them
terrible
all
to
in the
play.
gulag.
they're also not but they're also not doing great things. Like they don't have any anti-cheat systems in the PC version
Yeah.
of Modern Warfare, which is really kind of baffling. That why would, and I don't think there hasn't been a Call of Duty game on PC that has had any form of anti-cheat. So within not even a few weeks of the games being out, they immediately get broken, and online multiplayer just immediately dies for the PC versions, which honestly really sucks. And I wish that Infinity Ward or Activision would take more steps and just put a little bit of extra effort in. I mean, this is a good step, but I think it's mostly just because now it's affecting the console markets because of
Yeah.
crossplay.
Well,
That's the big
but,
reason why
I mean,
they're doing it.
Modern Warfare's multiplayer was crossplay, right? This isn't their first crossplay foray.
Yeah, but
I think
Modern
it's
Warfare,
more so this.
Modern Warfare is like only a few months old though, so this is like still a very new thing.
This
for
is
them.
still part of
Yeah,
Modern
so
Warfare.
I think right. I think it's more so the player base for Warzone versus the player base for Modern Warfare. Everyone is playing Warzone. Like it is free to play. Everyone's going to jump into it. It is a very good way for them to make money. They can't make money if people don't play the game. People aren't going to play the game if they can't win. They can't win if they're playing against
They can't.
aimbots.
Yeah.
It's
The
that simple.
console, even still, like before this sort of came out, specifically, a lot of console players were turning off crossplay because it kept matching them with really good PC players.
Yeah, like I mean, the mouse is just, it's better for Twitch shooting
Yes.
than a controller can ever be. And so 9 times out of 10, you're probably, especially in a game like Warzone specifically, where it is more strategic, it's not just I shoot you, you shoot me, Call of Duty, that somebody with a mouse 9 times out of 10 is going to win their battle against somebody with a controller just because of better aim. And where I think in Warzone, that's like kind of crucial. So I can see why a lot of people are doing that.
I think to wrap this up, Alex, you have to be a big boy, move over to the PS4 with the rest of us,
I don't have PS
and we'll just
Plus.
play
I can't-
Warzone there.
You
You don't need PS Plus for Warzone.
You don't? I thought
No.
you did.
I don't think so. No,
Yeah,
'cause it's
free to play. You
You don't need it for
typically don't
Fortnite.
need.
Oh, then hell
I think
yeah.
it,
That's,
I think you needed it initially, and then they patched that out because
let's-
of PlayStation's stance on free to play.
Yeah,
but we
days
can talk.
later.
Oh, I'm,
Yeah, it
I'm
was-
down
it was
with that.
pretty
Then
immediate.
I'll totally play
And
that.
you know,
Then we can just forget all those mouse and keyboard dorks
and if the
behind.
PC players ever do manage to get past the firewalls of Doom and invade our games, we can always, step up our elite gamer skills and show them what's what, and they'll never bother us again.
Yeah, all of us Epic Gamists need to rise up.
Never underestimate the power of PlayStation.
Yes.
Power to the players. But another thing that we shouldn't underestimate is Nintendo's lack of foresight when it comes to weird things with their games. Like with Animal Crossing New Horizons, Turnip stock market has its first actual panic, which is so strange that it's resembling
It's
real
so
life.
Animal Crossing.
It's
Look at this.
resembling real life.
I'm on the
in a
PSN
way.
profiles.com page for Scrat's Nutty Adventures, and apparently
Oh, geez.
57.
Okay.
God damn it, Alex, you're
65%
talking
of
about Animal
players have
Crossing.
been platinum for the platinum trophy.
So Animal Crossing.
Are you trying to kill me?
Apparently, the platinum trophy is called Ice Came, Ice Saw, Ice Conquered. Now that's a pun.
Pretty good name.
So Animal Crossing was
Thank you.
having players in Animal Crossing who had been playing since day one have
Yep.
been having a real interesting situation where this week the store Nook's Crannery, I can't read
Cranny.
today, Cranny, but they're getting an upgrade to the store, and the way Animal Crossing works is that when a thing gets upgraded, it closes down for the entire day, like the real world day, and then it opens up the next day. And the day that the store is going to have its upgrade is when a lot of people are going to be seeing their turnip prices spike. And people are kind of losing their minds on Twitter about it, which I think is hilarious. What do you
It's
guys
so
think
good.
about the stock market crash?
I'm really lucky I sold my turnips on Tuesday.
Yep, same
Yeah,
here.
me too.
Because my store is also upgrading this coming Thursday.
Mine's
So
mine's
it's
closed today, so it's upgrading. I'll have the new store tomorrow. Same with you, Mitch.
no, for me it's tomorrow. Because I think there was a day when it first came out where I didn't complete one of the objectives on that day. I carried over a day, so I'm one day behind, but it doesn't matter.
I'm multiple days behind because there's been a lot of days where I haven't played the game. So
How dare you?
Yeah.
hey,
That is a daily activity. You wake up, you play Animal Crossing, then you take your morning shit.
Yeah.
In that order.
Or you can do it at
Why
the
can't
same
you-
time.
yeah. Wait, I was gonna say, why can't you just do it at the same time? That's the whole point of the Switch.
So like
I mean, I can, but those who live with other people may not want
all
to.
Ice Age jokes aside, I really am curious what Nintendo is thinking right now, because the big Animal Crossing meme used to be, oh man, it's really funny that Animal Crossing and Doom are releasing on the same day. Here's a fan art of Isabelle and the Doomslayer hanging out and killing demons. And now everybody's incredibly corporate and businesslike and trying to predict the stock market. And I wonder which kind of mimetic culture Nintendo prefers. Do they prefer the stock market, or do they prefer Doom X Animal Crossing?
I feel like they probably lean more to the stock market because that's at least a feature that they added in their game. They didn't ask for the Doom.
How do they?
crossovers.
Yeah, but
How do you think they feel about
Go.
Tom Nook coming after your kneecaps if you don't pay?
I mean, that's been a thing since
I know.
the GameCube, so I'm pretty sure.
how do you think they feel about people complaining about having to sell their turnips while games are crashing, communication errors are happening all over the place, people can't actually move on islands because of too many people coming in or coming out? That narrative is not good. That is not a good look for Nintendo.
So, in all fairness, with
Yeah.
Nintendo, they haven't figured it out online pretty much in any game. Like maybe Splatoon.
Pokemon's not bad.
Um,
Pokemon's not bad.
I know Smash is not the best, but it's also not terrible.
Smash
depending
lets
if
you go
use
in and you
Wi-Fi or not.
smash, and it works.
Smash is pretty bad.
Oh, okay, it's bad.
yeah.
It's not great.
Nintendo just needs to look at their netcode, especially on something like this. I don't understand why the game needs to stop and reload for everybody every time somebody comes in.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not
Well, 'cause
an
I think
engineer, but
So the system that, like, let's say I'm traveling to your island, my system has to do that initial load of your entire island. So if you look at when you start your game, if you start it from the main menu, it's going to take 30 to 45 seconds for that initial load because it loads in the whole thing. That being said, the map's not big. Nintendo, get your act together. Like, these things should not be taking 30 to 45
it should
seconds.
do it for the person joining the island in the background.
Yes.
It shouldn't have to do that for everybody who's already there.
you should just get a notification
the
this
thi-
person's arrived and they come out of the airport.
yeah,
And,
exactly.
like a little notification.
There must be something around the way that they've programmed the island itself where you are on the island is also being broadcast to that person. So if you were to be moving while it's trying to load that data to the other person's Switch, it may be that load takes an extra minute and a half, 2 minutes, who knows how long.
I don't know if that's
for
necessarily
that person because there's extra.
Is that necessarily any different from when you are just going into a building or into one of the houses and somebody's already outside
It's
on
not.
the island? Like, because before you
not.
go into the
But I think
building to follow them in there, it has to. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
it's weird. It's not good. It could be better. And my bet is they're not going to improve it.
Probably not.
Oh, yeah,
because
They've got a
sold-
moneymaker on their hands. They're not going to fix
Yeah, they've
this.
sold so many copies that they just don't need
Yeah,
to.
it just doesn't
they just
matter.
Don't need to do anything.
They'll
And it'll
con-
sell itself.
They'll continue to support it with online events, and that'll be the big thing. Wait for the first Pokemon one. I'm sure there will be a Pokemon one when the updates come out.
Really?
Apparently, New
Don't
Leaf
get his
they
hopes
did
up like that.
New Leaf and the
Oh, I'm
mobile
back, baby.
games. They did Pokemon, and Pokeballs were on the trees, and you could collect them. And
Oh my god, I'm in.
so, and there was Zelda
just-
ones.
And see, this
too.
is a game that this is a game I don't like the online infrastructure, but when you say things like that, it gets me back in. There's this weird charm about it that's going to keep bringing me back.
Every month, there's new things to hunt and collect, and that's what I'm all about.
And the thing is, whatever remains of the dev team is working on these monthly updates. They're not working on the netcode of the game, because if they broke that at this point, people would flip their proverbial shit,
Well, they try to fix it, and they fuck it up even worse. So,
or just break it.
yeah, break it.
go
That
full on
wouldn't
Nintendo.
surprise me either.
Imagine a stock market collapsing if there was no internet. I bought some hot nips, and now I can't travel to another town and sell them. I mean, what are you going to do?
It would be great if they got to a point where it's just like, oh, we can tell you're time traveling. Guess what? Your stock market's only ever going to decline. Oh, and you can't leave your island. Have fun. Like, find some real way to punish people who are playing play the game the way you want, but it would be funny if they implemented something like that, because I know there's been other games, like, I know Pokemon, if you mess with the game, actually not Sword and Shield, you can mess with the game clock all you want in that game, but in previous games, if you mess with the game clock, a bunch of activities were locked to you for 24 hours. I'm surprised they didn't do something similar for
play the
Animal
game how
Crossing.
you want, but if you time travel, you're a monster, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
mean,
agree with that.
A time traveling monster who's in our chat bought me a 50-inch TV in the game and sent it to me. So as long as you're going to bribe me, I don't care what
By
you
all
do.
means.
with
Wait, I need a 50-inch TV. Who's this person?
Talk to Mike. Talk to Mike.
Mike, I could also use a 50-inch TV for my exercise room. So, can I please have one? Thank you. I appreciate that.
I still have the window open for the Scrat game if you want.
God damn it,
Okay,
Cozy,
wait.
no.
Cozy,
Drop it,
tell me
please.
more about this game. I want to hear more about this.
You
I
get
gotta
one
get a beer.
thing. You get one point, and then we're moving on.
Hold on.
It's only fair.
I'm trying to think of like what's a good piece.
Just
of
so you can
information.
interject something.
I mean, overall, like I was saying earlier, I think like a good 70% of people on PSN profiles, everybody who owns this game, who's on PSN profiles, a good 70% of people own the platinum for this game. So, I mean, that's pretty high percentage right there.
Is it I am Mayo or my name is Mayo type platinum?
Taco Master? I noticed I had
no.
a Taco Master
My
on
name
Vita
is
that I
Ma-
never
like,
got the platinum for.
So to get serious for just a second, I know this is not serious, but if you search up "My Name Is Mayo" on PSN profiles, right now 97.63% of owners of the game on PSN profiles have the platinum for that. And that's for the
Right here.
PlayStation 4 version, by the way. The PlayStation Vita version, we're looking at 98.70%.
What is
I'm
the
both.
point of buying a game that is just for the platinum? It doesn't make sense.
I mean, My
to me.
Name Is
So
Mayo
who
actually has
cares?
some funny dialogue in
I
it.
enjoyed
wouldn't
the
even call
story
it,
of it.
It's not even a story. It's just like a random like tweets that somebody deleted.
It's a meme trophy.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
so.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Go get a real platinum like Final Fantasy VII Remake. Then come back and talk to me about
You
platinums.
know that I got the Rogue Legacy Platinum over the course of the last week, right?
I did know that. Congratulations on
Yeah.
that.
Hey.
And it should be noted for the record that on PSN profiles, only 2.95% of players have that one. So I think that you're going to be the one who's going to want to be talking to me, Mitch, when it comes to platinums.
Well, speaking of platinums, the games that came before Pokemon Platinum just turned.
Look at that.
It's their anniversary because they came out
13 years ago?
13 years ago. I was trying to do the math quickly in my head because I was also trying to come up with an amazing segue like that. But yes,
Alex,
so
what's 20 minus 7?
13.
13.
There you go.
Hey, so so Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, which actually were my first Pokemon games, came out
God, you're young.
13 years ago, and they were the best Pokemon games, at least in my opinion.
I have a
I've only
huge.
played-
I'm pretty fond of
played
them.
like
I like
4
them
of
quite a bit.
I like Gen 4 a lot, and maybe it's because I do have the rose tinted glasses for them, but I think Gen 4 has some really great Pokemon.
I have a very specific memory of playing that game, not Platinum, but Diamond and Pearl specifically. We had a 4-player double battle in the hallway of my high school, and we were yelling the commands at each other before class started, and it was a fantastic experience.
Yeah, some of my best memories of Gen 4, or at least like the DS generation of games, was playing them in high school. Or at least Gen 4. Gen 5 was like end of high school, beginning of university. But yeah, sitting in the tech hallway at lunch, playing some Pokemon, playing some Mario Kart 7.
Oh yes.
Man, those were some good times.
Yeah,
And,
I love.
Yeah, I'm with you, Alex. They're great games. They're not my favorite Pokemon games, but they're absolutely worth playing even today. And I'm really hoping that our next remake is Gen 4 because it's next in line. As long as they don't go back to the Let's Go style and start with Gen 2. But
For me, like,
Let's go Totodile.
Pokemon Diamond and Pokemon Pearl, and also by extension Platinum, are the last Pokemon games I think of when I think about my nostalgic Pokemon memories. I enjoyed, Pokemon Black and White and X and Y and Sun Moon and all that stuff after it, but when I think about Black and White onwards, I don't really think of like my childhood Pokemon games, basically. For whatever reason, Generation 4 was just sort of the last hurrah of that era, and I kind of cherish it. I cherish it very dearly to this day, even though there are a few kind of quality of life things about those games that haven't aged super well, like the slow surfing is an example.
yeah, anything related to HMs is going to feel dated after the last few games that haven't really had them. But regardless, I think those games were really well done. They were a lot of fun. And I would recommend anyone who has access and hasn't played them or can figure out a way to play them legally, I hope, give them a shot. They're great games.
And if you wanted to play some very good games legally now, and you wanted to do them very cheaply, there are two very great games that are on sale on the Switch that are very, very cheap. And they are Towerfall, which is $6.29, and Celeste, one of the Game of the Year contenders of 2018, for $6.12.
Both Canadian store prices,
Yes.
so convert into your currency of choice. But
But-
anyone who's looking for a multiplayer game in quarantine, pick up Towerfall. Anyone who's looking for one of the best platformers of all time, pick up Celeste.
Towerfall was,
It's that
sorry, I just
simple.
want to say, Towerfall was one of the champions of the Ouya. So if you own Towerfall,
It was the
If
only
you love
champion of
the
the Ouya.
Ouya,
I'm saying, if you want to own a piece of history, buy Towerfall.
ooh yeah.
But it would only be historic if you bought it on the Ouya.
Well, I
which-
mean,
good luck finding one of
you
those.
nobody's
could do that on eBay.
That too.
hold on a sec. Can you still buy
Would you
games
want to,
on
though?
the Ouya?
Oh god, no! That store shut down years ago.
Yeah, it's done now. Yeah.
That's too bad.
It's just an Android box, isn't it? Can you like log into the Google Play Store and buy things that way? I don't know.
Why
You might
would
be
you
able
want
to
to
sideload it.
Why would you want to try, though? So I guess with that, unless you guys have anything left to say about anything we've talked about, whether it be Celeste or anything like Animal Crossing, because that's probably what we've primarily been talking about.
That's all
we
we've
can
talked
move-
about for the
Love
last
talking about
month.
nips.
We can move on. We can move on to the topic of the show. Is everyone ready?
Speaking of nips,
Speaking of nips, there once was a game.
Everybody.
There was a game developed by Massive.
yep, developed by
By
Mass Effect.
BioWare.
There you go.
I have this whole speech planned.
I wasn't
There's
going
a
to be
game
ready for
developed-
this. This is a new developer. I didn't know what game
There-
we were talking about for a second.
Oh God, please don't make fun of me. There's a
Are we
game-
talking about Ice Age again?
There is an RPG developer from Edmonton, Canada, that they revolutionized RPGs with Jade Empire and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. And they wanted to evolve their franchise, not just in a way that you participate in the story, but how you affect it. And with that, they released a game in November 16th, 2007 called Mass Effect. And Mass Effect was very revolutionary to the Xbox 360, and it was an amazing game.
Was it on
And
the
then they got
original
bought by-
Xbox?
It was on the
360.
No, it was 360.
You're thinking
Oh, okay.
KOTOR.
It was KOTOR and Jade Empire were
original
Xbox
OG
games,
Xbox,
yeah.
yeah.
Gotcha. My apologies. Keep going. Sorry.
No worries. But then 1 month after they released, or 1 month before they released Mass Effect, they were purchased by Electronic Arts for $860 million.
Is
That
that
doesn't seem like a lot.
is that in modern day money?
It is from 2017. The article I was reading was from 2017, so I'm assuming it's $860 million of the time.
Okay.
So 2007
W-
money.
w-
I'm not
We're splitting
I'm pretty
hairs
sure.
here, but an article that I have in front of me says it will cost EA about 775 million.
Okay, so maybe
But whatever, it
that-
doesn't matter. The point is, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
they did pay a lot of money for BioWare specifically. And then they released Mass Effect 2 in January 26, 2010. And then from there, 2 years later, only 2 years later, they released Mass Effect 3 in March 6th, 2012. And this is where I want to do the first pin. I want to ask everyone, what is your general knowledge and experience with the Mass Effect franchise?
Sorry, so on Cozy's number, the 775 million in 2007 adjusts today roughly to 960 million dollars. So just short of a
You
billion.
cut out a little bit there.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, so I was saying 775 million in 2007 adjusts to roughly 964 million today.
All right.
So I'm gonna start with the people who I know the answer to pretty well. Mitch, and I'll start with Mitch. What is your knowledge and experience with Mass Effect?
Sure.
The
So
original
I
trilogy.
was a PlayStation guy, so I didn't get to experience the original Mass Effect when it released. Towards the end of the life of the PS3, they released the Mass Effect trilogy. So I picked it up, and I started playing my way through the first one, and stopped after about 90 minutes.
All right.
That is my history with this series.
All right then. Nathan.
So I never played 1, and I picked number 2 up for 99 cents on sale at Radio Shack. You remember Radio Shacks? Actually, it might have been the Source at that point, but I picked it up at the Source when they were still selling video games. I played for a few
It had
hours.
to, well, the Source still sells video games.
Yeah, they used to do really cheap clearouts for like 99 cents a piece. Some of it was crap. Some of it was
I
really good. So
I miss that stuff. Yeah, I picked up a few things at the Source.
So I put a few hours into it. I remember not going to say her name right, but she's black haired in this game, but she was a blonde in Chuck.
Yvonne Strahovski's character.
Yes, yeah, Yvonne Strahovski. I remember her very vividly, but something
too.
about the gameplay just didn't catch me. I don't know what it was, and I didn't continue playing it. I am aware of all the drama and listening to podcasts and everything for years. Very familiar with like the controversies with 3 and Andromeda. So
All right.
Same.
So Cozy,
Yeah.
what is your experience with Mass Effect?
Ooh, here we go. So, there used to be a time long ago where a young Alexander Kazina only owned the Nintendo Wii and Nintendo consoles. And then in 2008, I got a secondhand PlayStation 2, and I'm like, oh, okay. PlayStation has some interesting consoles and some interesting games. And it was shortly after that I decided, all right, you know what, I'm going to go and get a PlayStation 3. It's still kind of expensive, and there isn't a lot of stuff on it that I personally am attracted to, but I feel like I need to get in on it if I want to claim that I'm a man who appreciates everything the industry has to offer. And then a game called Mass Effect 2 came out on the Xbox 360. And I wasn't ready to get an Xbox 360 because I feel like that was a step too far for me at the time. But when I heard that it was coming out on the PlayStation 3 the following year, I was like, all right, Mass Effect 2 is going to be the reason I get a PlayStation 3. And it ended up not being the first game that I played on my PlayStation 3. That was God of War 3 because a copy of that game came included with my purchase of the console. But it was one of the first games that I played with the console. In fact, I believe I got it shortly after my birthday in February of 2011. And it is also the first game that I ever platinumed, and was one of the games that kind of led me down the path to very much enjoying platinums. And it still remains one of my favorite experiences on the console. I don't think that it is a perfect experience from top to bottom, but it is an incredibly memorable one. And after that, I went ahead and played Mass Effect 3 when it came out. Enjoyed it quite a bit, not as much as 2. I did not go back and play Mass Effect 1 when it came out on the PlayStation consoles, just because I think I was just kind of distracted by other things at the time it came out, and I'd been deterred enough by some people's experiences online to not be super enthusiastic about playing it. And I picked up a cheap secondhand copy of Andromeda a couple of years after it came out, and it currently rests unopened on my shelf. I do legitimately want to give it a shot because I have heard that since its release they have drastically improved the experience and that it has some enjoyment to be gained from it. But it's the kind of thing where it's like between, doing a run of Kingdom Hearts 2 on my PlayStation 4, doing a run of Final Fantasy 7 Remake, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order cleanup, like between all these amazing choices and Mass Effect Andromeda, I'm going to go with one of these other amazing choices first.
I mean, what was nice, one thing they did do that was nice for the PlayStation release of Mass Effect 2 is they released that prequel comic / video, the interactive, get you caught up on the story of the first game. So I did think at the time of just skipping the first one and starting with the second one, and I probably should have done that.
It's a very valid way to do it because it allows you to go through and choose all of the major choices of the first game. Then it will generate a save slot for you to be able to then import into Mass Effect 2, which is actually a really great way of going about it. Honestly.
Alex, is there a way for me to play these on current gen if I wanted to play them?
Unless you have an Xbox One,
PC.
then no.
Oh.
It is backwards.
Right, I was going to say
it's
PC.
It's on PC or it's available Xbox One backwards compatibility, but there's no way on PlayStation. I don't even think it's on PS Now, which is like, I don't know why you'd want to do that, but there is really no way to play the original trilogy now that's accessible.
Honestly, part of the reason of me wanting to build a PC at one point this year is to catch up on some of those games that I did miss. So things like KOTOR I've never played, Mass Effect. Those are really the two that come to mind.
Minesweeper?
But there's a bunch of stuff. Oh, I love me some
Solitaire.
Minesweeper. Some Solitaire. Oh,
Yeah.
I got them Solitaire achievements in Windows 10. Ooh.
Wait for it.
TurboTax.
Minecraft. Have you heard of it?
I've never played Minecraft.
Oh, you should try it.
You
Okay,
should.
back to Mass Effect.
Yes.
AJ, what is your experience with Mass Effect? As I know
Why do
that
you guys think
are...
I should play Minecraft? Isn't it kind of dated at this point? Like,
Minecraft's a great game, but we're not talking about Minecraft. AJ, what is your experience with Mass
You
Effect?
can skin Minecraft to look like Mass Effect.
I saw they had Power Ranger skins. That's cool.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so Mass Effect for me, it's probably one of my favorite franchises to date so far. I skipped Andromeda, but Mass Effect 1...
So you never played Andromeda at all?
No, not at all.
Okay, so I'm the only one here who's actually played it.
This is going to be a fun
Hell yeah.
conversation.
This is literally going to be a whole lot of me, so if you already can't stand my voice, now is the time to leave.
Don't listen to him. Please stay. We need the viewers.
No, yeah, so I played for like a few hours in the first Mass Effect, right? And I kind of put it down, and I was just like, oh man, I don't know if I get it or not. And then I smartened up and was just like, I spent like $70-80 on this. I need to sit down and I need to play this. This was 2007. I was in grade 11 at the time. So I decided to, it'd been a couple months, start fresh, do it again, and I got hooked, completely hooked on it. I am Paragon all the way. I cannot play it another way. It is non-canonical otherwise. I will, and I know I mentioned this on a previous podcast, I will play through Mass Effect 1 just to have the continuous through line so I can replay Mass Effect 2. I haven't done that for years at this point. Probably not since 3 came out. I played, so when 3 came out, March 6th, that was the day before my birthday. And I got it, but there was so much controversy around it. I put it down, and I was just like, no, I need to hold off on this and come at this with less bias and a clearer head and stuff like that. And about a year later, after that, I finally picked it up in 2013 and played through it. And, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not without its problems, obviously, but yeah, that is my experience with Mass Effect.
So I just wanted to ask really
Yeah.
quickly. You say you picked up Mass Effect 3 a couple of years after, or a year after it came out. By the time that you picked it up, all of the DLC for 3 would have been out. Did you play the DLCs?
I had the complete Mass Effect 3 experience. I played it with all
Okay,
the
good.
DLC on my
Okay,
first
good, because
playthrough.
Really, man, I wish I could have had
yeah.
your experience, because because Mass Effect 3 hinges on its DLC. The Citadel DLC for Mass Effect 3 is one of the best pieces, one of the best companion pieces I've ever experienced with a game. It took all of the problems that people had with the ending of Mass Effect 3 and with some of the the lack of conclusion with like characters, and it like added this extra little chapter before the final mission of the game that just made everything come together and make it feel like Mass Effect again, and made it feel great. And I love that DLC so much, and I could spend all this time just talking about why it's almost perfect. I'm not going to, but it's really great. And if you have the opportunity to play through Mass Effect 3, playing all of the DLC is, I think, the way to do it.
Yeah.
Probably the definitive way to play it.
What do you think got them in a position where they released the game without what you feel like is a definitive ending? Do you think it was just rush, money, timelines?
So I actually do have some notes about that. So
hold on. Can I just say something
very
quickly before we talk about some of the Mass Effect 3 problems? I just want to say on the subject of Mass Effect and DLC, I had a bit of a funny / annoying experience with Mass Effect 2 where, if you recall, the PlayStation 3 version of that game came preloaded with all the DLC on it. Because all that stuff had previously released on the Xbox 360 over the prior year. And I remember early on in the game attempting a bunch of the DLC missions because I didn't realize, this is DLC that you should be attempting after you've beaten the main campaign. And I remember being like, wow, these missions are really great. They're really cinematic. And then going back to the actual normal main missions in the game and being like, the rest of this game by comparison is not that exciting, not realizing, of course it's not that exciting because it's not the DLC.
I had such a seamless experience that I just had all the DLC. I didn't know specifically what was the DLC and what wasn't, so it kind of mixed and flowed together in such a way that just sort of it balanced out almost.
With Mass Effect 3 especially, they were really egregious with how they did their DLC, because Mass Effect 3 was one of those games that had day one DLC that was locked on the disc. Mm-hmm. It was a really, for Mass Effect 3 especially, was really important to the story of the game. It introduced a character that is kind of vital to understanding what the actual threat of the whole series has been up until this point.
Are you talking about Javik?
And Javik.
Yeah.
Like they locked a character behind a $10 paywall unless you got the collector's edition.
It is
of
the
game.
From Ashes DLC.
Right.
Yes.
So let's slide into talking about the Mass Effect 3 problems.
I just have one. Can I say one thing about the whole locking content behind a paywall? This was at a time where every major publisher was locking online content behind online passes and things like that. So
season passes
to lock Well, no, this is even before the season pass thing. This is the time where you had to pay $10 to access multiplayer if you bought the game used and things like that. So to lock DLC behind, or to lock Vital Story DLC behind a wall like that was a bad. It was a bad look.
Yeah, I think this is when.
But it was way more common at that point from all the big publishers, not just limited to EA.
Capcom releasing Marvel vs. Capcom 3 with characters locked on the disc that were ready to go.
Jill Valentine and green alien thing, I don't remember.
8-legged thing that's
Sula
not
Gareth.
Starro. Yes.
That sounds right.
It's a Doctor
I don't
Strange
know how to
villain,
pronounce it.
basically.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so very quickly before we get into Mass Effect 3, because I think that'll be really important to why Mass Effect Andromeda turned out the way that it was. I really want to get to sort of just very quickly my experience with Mass Effect. And I'm going to start this off by just saying I have Origin open up right now. Mass Effect 1, I have 13 hours in. Mass Effect 2, I have 113. And Mass Effect 3, I have 141.
Wow.
So you can kind of tell that
There's the reason I didn't play those games.
No,
that's too much time to play games.
This is from multiple playthroughs.
That's multiple playthroughs.
I played that's at least 3 playthroughs doing every.
If you can play through Final Fantasy VII, you can play through Mass Effect.
So one of the biggest.
I can also just keep eating this pizza while I listen to you guys talk about Mass Effect.
Also, I played the games originally on the Xbox 360, so I started with Mass Effect 2 because my brother got Mass Effect 2, like when it came out, and I tried playing it. and I was a dumb child. And with RPGs, I was like, I'm just gonna press all the buttons and not really like actually read what like class I was gonna play. And I didn't know what I was doing, and I was having a real hard time with it. And he's like, okay, restart the game. And he told me to pick a soldier, and then I played through the game, and I fell in love with it. Mass Effect was one of those games that really, just the character interaction with it, especially in Mass Effect 2, where it was way more personal, I feel, because of the just structure of the story, was really vital to, I think, why I love story in games, because it is so very tied together. Then I played Mass Effect 3 as soon as it came out, and I beat it within like 3 or 4 days of it coming out, and I didn't really have a problem with the ending. I wasn't really aware of the controversy of it until way after, and then I was like, oh, I guess I can see problems with it, but it didn't really bother me as much as I guess a lot of other people who had high expectations.
Remind me
for
how
it.
old you were again?
It would have been 13 when Mass Effect 3 came out.
That is too young to play those games. Those are rated M for mature, 17
Honestly,
up.
I mean,
You are not. Yeah, you are a dirty, filthy, prepubescent.
Who did you
cheater.
romance?
well, so when I first played
You
the
should
game,
not have been romancing at 13. Goddammit, you were a child.
all of the characters in Mass Effect are pedophiles.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
At least when you're playing the game, yeah.
That's how that works.
So when the first game came out, or when I played the game the first time, I did Tally, because I played as
I like your choice of words.
but I romanced Tally in both Mass Effect 2 and 3. But then when I've played through it every time on PC, you know how you say you play Paragon every single time is non-canonical. Every time I replay through Mass Effect on PC, I have to play as Femshep, and I have to romance Garrus, because Garrus is the greatest character of all time, and he's more than just the broiest bro, but he's
He's
like,
the blue guy, right?
he's the blue alien who you posted the gif of dancing.
Yeah.
Or he's got blue armor.
Yeah.
He's not.
That is a
actually
character
blue.
that I recognize.
He's a Turian.
He is.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
I'm aware of
Those are words.
He's Archangel, and he's also Shepard's best
He
friend.
needs his own
and
spin-off game of Garrus's detective agency is what it needs.
And
You're
he's
telling me
always
you fucked your
calibrating.
best friend?
I mean, didn't you?
Fell in love with.
Yeah.
Fair point.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on. So we can move on to the troublesome of Mass Effect 3. So after Mass Effect 2 came out in 2010, it was only 2 years of development between Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3.
I'm just going to go off my own speculation, and I still hold firm and true to this. That is the reason why Mass Effect 3 had so much controversy. I think EA got too greedy with it and decided that, hey, you know what? No, we need to make money this year, not next year, and do it now.
No, wait. Was it 2 years between release?
Between
from
2 and
2010,
3.
2010 is when Mass Effect 2 came out, and then 2012 is when Mass Effect 3 came out.
I mean, they didn't wait until 2 came out to start development to the game. BioWare has multiple teams at the
Yes.
studio, so
But
presumably it was another team that...
It was Edmonton, though, who
So-
developed Mass Effect.
They were still working on Dragon Age, the other teams.
Yeah, the other teams were working on Dragon Age and Star Wars: The Old
My
Republic.
friend was there working on Dragon Age at the time, and he had some access to Mass Effect 3 as it was getting developed and stuff like that. Now, I haven't spoken to him personally about, what he feels went wrong necessarily, but in his opinion, the issues with the game are not the ending like everybody was all up in arms about.
Yeah.
I remember this very vividly. As much as I didn't play the game, back in the day when I was listening to Podcast Beyond with Greg and Colin, this was brought up weekly for a long time. As the updates continued to come out, they've patched the ending, there's new endings, and they continually talked about this a lot. But EA learned their lessons, and we got a better one, right?
Well, not exactly. So there was a lot of pushback from the audience with Mass Effect 3 and the ending. There was petitions raised. There was a petition that actually raised $500,000 to change the ending.
Wasn't there
of Mass Effect
cupcakes
3.
as well?
Yes, I was gonna get to that. They
That's
sent
my favorite
400. They sent 402, which is the amount of endings that BioWare said that there was in the game. I mean, like semantically, they sent 402 cupcakes of various colors, red, green, and blue, which is it relates to the ending of the game because, and they said.
Are we getting into full spoilers with this?
I'll try to keep it vague because I think there's still going to be a chance that Mass Effect maybe one day can come as an HD remaster, so I don't want to spoil anything. But they sent 402 different colored cupcakes that all taste the same to BioWare.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that so much.
yeah. I'm not going to spoil the ending, but what I'm going to describe is like the scenario around the ending. Mass Effect is a game about choice. You go on an adventure and you get to have this branching path and you get to create your own story. Now, a lot of, like any game story, like, yeah, they want to tell this one story and have you take your own branching path on how you get there. So it's kind of like a diamond shape if you were to picture it. You all start at the same place, you branch out your own way, and then you come back in to the final ending, which is kind of the same for everybody. The way it ended, Mass Effect, I say this again, Mass Effect is a game about choice. You pretty well literally had originally 3 options, and that just was basically pick your ending cutscene. That was
Pick your ending color. Do you want red,
yeah,
blue, or green?
Right? And I think with one of the DLCs they added the 4th option, which is just to pick no option as well.
Yeah. And they also with the DLC that they added to kind of clarify the ending more. It was a lot of just explaining the significance of what each choice would mean and why the choices were the way that they were. And they added more dialogue to just kind of like smooth it out. I appreciate that they more or less stuck to their vision of the ending is still the way that it was when it came out. They just kind of made it smoother, I guess, because
they added exposition to it, essentially.
Yeah. Which I appreciate that they didn't just completely flat out change the ending. But that also, the fact that the ending was as sort of grandiose as it was, that no matter what your Shepard picked, it's going to affect the universe, not just for 100 years, not just for 1,000. It's going to affect the universe indefinitely, and there's no way that a sequel for the game could reference Shepard again because because the ending was open-ended of like we wanted it to be about choice. We couldn't have the sequel we couldn't let the sequel have any reference to Shepard and what he actually chose or what they chose.
There is a rumor and it still goes around periodically that there is one canonical ending, and it's because of one of the ways one of the endings is animated. Specifically, and I'm not going to go into spoilers on that kind of gives a clue as to how the universe ends up with this particular ending. And they just they decided to leave it open-ended for everybody else to choose, and then they went on to make Andromeda.
I mean, if I can just go on a very quick tangent here, I will say, for as much frustration as the ending of this game caused, it is kind of impressive how much like conspiracy theorizing and just like speculation and rumor mongering it caused at the same time. All the same, I feel like most video game endings are pretty clear and cut and dry, and again, even though it did cause a lot of people a lot of ire, I still think it's kind of rare that you see a video game series cause like feature-length documentaries of people trying to dissect its ending in the way that they did with this game. And it's just too bad that a lot of that was mixed with anger.
All I'm going to say... Oh, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, did you guys read Jason Schreier's first book that he released?
Nope.
Oh, no, I did not.
I would highly recommend it. He has a great chapter in there on how Dragon Age Inquisition came to be.
Hold on.
Yeah, you cut out.
I don't know what book you're talking about and who wrote it, or
I'll go grab.
Schreier book,
oh,
right?
Blood, Sweat,
Yeah, the
and
Jason
Pixels.
Schreier book. Yeah, Blood, Sweat, and Pixels.
Yeah, I've read that.
It has a great chapter on Dragon Age, and I'm really hoping. So he's writing the sequel now. If there's anything in there about how Mass Effect came to be, I'm going to be very, very interested in the stories that come out of BioWare around either 3 or
Anthem. Or
Andromeda.
Yeah, I read through passages of that book pretty often because what I do for Gamers, the YouTube channel, requires me to look into that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, there isn't as much stuff on the Mass Effect series in that book as you would hope, but that book still is required reading, I guess.
Yeah, no, I was saying I'm hoping for
into BioWare.
So the sequel is going to be coming out in 2021. He spoke about that this week with Kinda Funny's Greg Miller. And I'm really hoping there's some stuff in there on Mass Effect, because it would be very interesting to get a bird's eye view on why things happened the way they did for either 3 or Andromeda.
Or,
Yeah, that
while
would
we're
be-
talking about Jason Schreier, just quickly, congrats.
Absolutely, yeah. He's moving from Kotaku over to Bloomberg News, and I think he's going to do some great work over there. And long live Deadspin. Screw what they did to that company. And
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
While we're talking about Bloomberg, I just want to mention that the flowers have yet to bloom here in Montreal, but I'm still looking forward to the day that they do bloom.
you won't be able to go outside and see them.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I can go outside at any moment I want. Speaking of which, I was walking
Shouldn't.
outside today.
Shouldn't.
And all right, let's get back to Mass Effect.
So,
I wanted to hear about your walk.
So from Mass Effect 3 had a lot of problems, but BioWare Edmonton from 3 jumped to working on Dragon Age Inquisition. And one of the biggest things with that is they left the Mass Effect franchise to BioWare Montreal.
Was it Montreal
Well,
or Austin?
Yeah, so
It was Montreal.
so
It was in Montreal.
3 and Inquisition were technically in development at the same time. I'm guessing that team transitioned over to assist with. I'd need confirmation from my friend, but
Again,
yeah.
Jason Schreier covers a lot of that in his book around Dragon Age Inquisition, at least.
yeah.
Real interesting stuff.
And I mean, to be clear, like, while the reins were handed over to BioWare Montreal was not solely responsible for Mass Effect Andromeda. It was, in the end, a collaborative effort.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get into that, but they were like the head studio on it. One of the things their history was they were a sports studio for Edmonton. They had been working on, or at least when it comes to Mass Effect, that they only had done they made the multiplayer for Mass Effect 3,
Right.
and they also did the Omega DLC.
The multiplayer, not bad.
The multiplayer is
Actually pretty good cooperative
great.
I was going to say,
multiplayer.
do people like the multiplayer? Because I remember that was the time when multiplayer modes were being tacked onto everything to try and expand it, like expand games. And I just can't remember how that one was received.
Remember the Last of Us having
People really
multiplayer?
like that
was
one.
a thing.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I'm glad the
Yeah.
sequel's not going to have it. It doesn't need it.
Well, it's not that it's not going to have it. It's just not going to have it.
It's going to be a
Day
separate
one.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah. When it comes to the Mass Effect multiplayer, I remember really enjoying it. I thought it was a very fun PvE, and for a shoehorned-in multiplayer mode, it was actually pretty well implemented into the story as
Yeah.
well. Because not like crucial that you need to play the multiplayer for the game to work or anything, but like it was a nice little tie-in to continue playing the fun combat. The Mass Effect 3 actually has a really great. It's a really good third-person shooter. I will admit that. Like it's a very fun game, especially playing it on mouse and keyboard. It unlocks a new level of speed and precision that you just didn't get before with the controller. That I really, if you have the opportunity, it's really worth doing. So go ahead, AJ. I'm kind of.
No, I was just. There's another. I swear, there's another game that has. The core concept of the game is very similar to Mass Effect's multiplayer, and I can't remember what it's called, and I'm having a hard time picturing it, but I'm racking my brain trying to think about it, and I can't at the moment.
So I guess
Yeah.
I'll continue. So we're going to start getting into the development cycle of Andromeda. And one of the biggest things about Andromeda was this was new blood to the Mass Effect franchise, and that was at the time, back in 2012, 2013, that was a real optimistic thing that people had, because people had spent the last 2 years losing their mind about Mass Effect 3 and thinking, oh, BioWare is finished now. BioWare Edmonton, they fucked up. They ruined the franchise. And so having new blood that spent the last 10 years just enjoying the games and not spending the time making them might be like a fresh new set of eyes that we really needed at that point. And so prototyping started in 2013 for Mass Effect Andromeda. There were a lot of prototypes for the game, including flying spaceships and procedurally generated worlds that were going to have like elements that were going to be in. It was going to be very much in line with like No Man's Sky was kind of like their thinking. Obviously,
Yeah,
No
because
Man's
that
Sky
worked
was in
out real well
development.
for No Man's Sky.
Hey,
At
this
launch,
was
at
this was
least.
at the time. This was at the time when everyone thought that this was going to be a great idea. Like procedurally generated stuff was like exploding. Minecraft was huge at the time, which is
A little game called
different, but
Rogue
also
Legacy.
yeah, so it's like this was things that everyone was like really getting excited about in the development studio for Andromeda. But one of the problems that both Edmonton was having with Dragon Age Inquisition, as well as Montreal was having with Andromeda, was the fact that they were forced by EA to use Frostbite 3, which is the
You mean a first-person
engine...
shooter engine didn't work well for third-person RPGs? Who would have thought?
Yeah, so it was the engine developed by DICE for Battlefield.
It's a
and
very
they were
beautiful
having-
engine.
Yes, and it is.
Can I talk about an issue with that engine? Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Cozy.
No, Nathan, you've been talking the least. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'll cede the floor to you for
So
just a minute.
I'm a big fan of golf games, and I used to play
And moment
Tiger
over.
Woods annually. And then when the PS4 version came out, Tiger Woods dropped the name, but they made it in Frostbite. And it was one of the worst golf games I've ever played. And they somehow managed.
I was going to say they didn't drop Tiger Woods from the name. They just dropped him entirely because of the whole domestic abuse,
They
or
had
cheating scandal or whatever it was at the time.
Well, the funny part was they actually kept him on for a long time after that for an extra game. It wasn't right away they dropped
they
him.
actually?
Yeah, they came to the end of the agreement and then decided to cut their ties. So
That's strange.
yeah.
They just didn't want to have to pay him,
Yeah.
I guess, because EA is cheap. We all know
So,
that.
but they made Roy McIlroy's PGA Tour, which I platinumed as well. I've platinumed like 4 of the PGA Tour games.
You really like golf games.
I do really like golf games, but it lacks a competent character creator, and they made it in Frostbite, and it's just terrible. So I can't imagine how if you want to talk about turning a first-person shooter engine into a third-person, try it into a golf game. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, reading, again, back to Jason Schreier's Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, reading
yeah.
that chapter on Dragon Age Inquisition and what they had to do with Frostbite to make that game work is just... Kudos to them for making it work, but they shouldn't have had to do it in the first place. It sounded like a nightmare.
Well, so that's what I want to contribute to this discussion. Like, hindsight is 20/20 on this. Nowadays, we all look back on this and are all pretty much in agreement that it was a terrible decision for them to go with the Frostbite engine with Dragon Age and Mass Effect. But at the time, when the decision was made,
Yeah, I agree
it
with
seemed like a very good idea on both sides. And like that's like thing number one, this was not something where like EA pressured BioWare to take this on. Both BioWare and EA mutually agreed on it as a good idea. And it was like, hey, this engine is looking to be very promising. It renders games beautifully. If we ever decide to do any online stuff with it in the future, it's way more versatile than what we could previously do in the past. And like as an example, with Dragon Age, they were able to implement that multiplayer mode with relatively ease compared to what they would have been capable to do with the engine that they previously used on Dragon Age 1 and 2. It was only when they really started, putting the engine into motion on the game and all the issues with it started cropping up and the, lag in time between communicating with themselves and DICE in Stockholm, Sweden, that it became apparent that the engine was a real burden.
Yeah, like some of those burdens included like the good amount of time was spent having to do things like adding manual save slots
Slaves.
and AI. Yes, having trouble, man. But yeah, so manual save slots, adding AI companions, which, you know, with a BioWare game is probably pretty important, and the ability to be able to see your own character. Like, that engine is just not made for third-person games.
It is made for seeing your hands and occasionally your feet.
Yeah.
That is
And
it.
so they were having a lot of problems with Frostbite. And the thing is, they keep... The thing I would say about that, though, that point, is they keep doing it, though. They did it with Dragon Age, they did it with Mass Effect, and then they did it with Anthem as well. So it's not like they've learned their lesson.
They did learn from it for
Fallen Order.
Jedi Fallen Order.
But
that was not
Respawn
made.
has Respawn has never used Frostbite, though. Titanfall and
Thank God.
Titanfall 2 are actually made on the Source engine, and then Fallen Order was
heavily
Unreal 4.
gutted Source engine, but yeah, the origins are
That's true,
the foundation is the Source engine.
But I mean, it just goes to show you, like, trying to use tools made for one thing to do another typically doesn't work in any software development, not just game development. You really need to either cater the tools to what you can do or work with something that already has the mechanisms that you need. Just because you have an internal support team that can help you with the tools doesn't mean you can make lemons out of
They
lemonade
had
out
the
of
internal
oranges.
support team, and then they decided they didn't want to pay a licensing fee to somebody like Epic for Unreal or anything like that. So it was
Exactly.
The one final piece in this puzzle, though, that does need to be pointed out is that although, again, we look back on it disdainfully today, the fact of the matter is that the Frostbite engine serviced the company really well with Dragon Age Inquisition. Nowadays, people kind of look back on that game and are kind of iffy on it, but Dragon Age
did win
Inquisition
Game of the
at the
Year.
time was really successful and effectively proved, quote unquote, that the Frostbite engine could work. And people, you know, kind of wondered nowadays at the company, like, if that game had failed, would we still have used the Frostbite engine after the fact? Would we have used it on Mass Effect Andromeda? And so
I mean, it can work if you make your employees work 120-hour work weeks for like 6 months straight. Sure, anything will work at that point, but you're going to cause burnout, and people are going to leave, and people are just going to have a sour taste in their mouth. They're not going to want to keep working on this product or with this company. So you really have to figure out a way to balance that.
Well, just one of the biggest things. I mean, I can relate that back. One of the biggest things was people were leaving BioWare Montreal continuously. Like, there was the game director
turnover.
who originally the game director of the game originally, who worked at Beanox. He worked on the last game before that was Spider-Man: Edge of Time. He left, and
Not a great
he
game.
left.
Is that Casey Hudson?
Well, I mean.
no.
No, Casey Hudson did leave, though, very shortly after, but that was in Edmonton, so there was problems over there. But then Mac Walters, who's one of the original writers for Mass Effect 3, and I believe he wrote 2 as well, he came in as the game director to basically turn the ship around, and because they had spent 2 years of development, and they had no levels, no story to show for it. It was just prototypes of different mechanics that they had. The combat system and the Nomad were the only parts of the game that were really working. And so
What's the Nomad?
The Nomad is the
that the
it's
ship?
the truck. It's the car that you could drive in the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which
I didn't know it had vehicles.
Mass
That's
Effect 1,
interesting, I
Mass
guess.
Effect 1 and Mass Effect Andromeda have like open world
Bring
exploration.
back the
that you
Mako.
can, the Nomad's actually not that bad of a vehicle to drive. There's just not that much that you can go explore
enough.
with.
Side story for
Mako.
those playing Final Fantasy VII: is it Mako or Mako?
Mako. Listen to how Barrett says
Cozy,
it.
Cozy, are you Mako or Mako?
Mako.
See, I was Mako too, and hearing him say Mako is just off-putting. Continue.
Okay. So Mass Effect Andromeda had a whole lot of problems. And they did delay the game, though, and EA offered to delay it even further, but BioWare Montreal was like, we can release it. They got a whole bunch of support from Austin and from Edmonton to help finish the game, and then they finally did release it in March 21st of 2017 to a critical bomb, and it was kind of a mess. And as the only one who played it, I had a whole lot of the problems that everyone was experiencing at launch. The animation bugs were insanely bad, especially when a game like Horizon Zero Dawn, which implemented a lot of the same features that Mass Effect Andromeda did with like automated animation systems. Horizon Zero Dawn was like it was almost flawless compared to Mass Effect Andromeda, and I think that was a very interesting, having those two games released so close to each other, being very similar in style and mechanics. I thought was a very interesting, just to see how bad Andromeda actually was. And so I think, so I've kind of gone on and on and on about the troubled history.
Yeah,
of
we've all
Andromeda.
kind of
There's
vented a
lot more.
little bit about our feelings about it.
Yeah, there's a whole lot. I did a lot of research the last like 2 days of trying to figure out like all of the different points at where this was starting to break, and eventually
it's funny though. I look at Metacritic and I look at OpenCritic, and it's sitting there with a 71 or a 72 depending on the platform you're on.
Yeah.
But it wasn't
So there
the
are
90.
some positive reviews about this game. So like, it doesn't. I mean, I saw the memes when it came out of
Yeah.
animations being broken and things just not working. And at that point, yeah, the game's a dumpster fire. But like, is it as bad as people make
It
it out
wasn't
to be?
part of the problem though. It was about expectations. It's not that it's a bad game. It's that people wanted a 90 plus.
yes,
Like they wanted a 9, a 10 out of 10. Like they wanted a masterpiece, and they didn't get a masterpiece.
yeah, they wanted another
Right.
Mass Effect game, and they did not get that, and they got like the game itself is not inherently bad. I still have Origin open. I have right now 35 hours in Mass Effect Andromeda. I never finished it, but I played it a lot. And the combat's fun. Like it is a fun third-person shooter. Like there's a lot of verticality with it. You have a lot of abilities that allow you to like, but I think my biggest problem with the game was the lack of an interesting story. And I brought that up when we did the 5x5 of the best remasters. They had this really interesting idea of having the 4 main species of the game go to the Andromeda Galaxy, get away from the Reapers, get away from the Milky Way, and create and like let it be that space exploration that Mass Effect kind of originally promised, but didn't deliver because the expectations and the focus changed for the first Mass Effect, and they tried to go back to that original idea of what Mass Effect was supposed to be. And I just don't think that they did it all that successfully in the story aspect of it. Like, I think Ryder's not a very interesting character. You don't really have that very many interesting companions. And so there was just a whole lot of problems, not just with the game itself, but with the writing of the game. And I think that kind of showed with the sort of rush nature of the story not really being there and had to be constructed around what they had of prototypes and development. They had to just kind of build a story around what they had to be able to finally release the game.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You said that you didn't think.
Don't everyone talk at once.
Sorry, but you said that you didn't think that the story was all that great. Did you think that the characters were great as well, or do you think that they were not that great as well and were symptomatic of the game's larger issues?
I think there was some, like, I can remember one companion from the game. And it's the Asari. I think her name was Phoebe. She had like black like eyeshadow around her eyes, and she wore purple. She's the only companion who I can actually remember the name of.
I don't even.
And
like
I think
said,
that's really telling.
I didn't play Andromeda, and that's the only character that I know from any of the promotional materials whose face like sticks in my mind.
Yeah.
So the only reason that I remember what that character looks like is because of all the broken gifs that went around of that character post-launch.
Yeah, like I think one of the biggest thing, like I can remember so many characters from the original trilogy, and I haven't replayed the games in a couple of years, and I could remember characters from all the games, and not just like your main companions, your main squad. Like I can remember a lot of different characters, and I think that was one of the biggest things, was there was just nothing was memorable about the game. And I think that was one of the biggest story issues. And so I will kind of want to veer the conversation a little bit to, now that we've kind of seen how Mass Effect got to where it is now, and it's kind of a dormant franchise. We don't know any developments about Mass Effect. We're kind of getting hearings from BioWare that they're doing another Dragon Age, and Anthem is whatever state Anthem is in right now. And so there's no real question about what is going to be next for Mass Effect. And so I wanted to ask the question, because this is Video Game Rehab, this isn't just us talking about the franchise itself. What would people want to see to be able to potentially reinvigorate the Mass Effect franchise?
So I've got one from Twitter that I very much agree with. So Holden DePardo wrote into us at Twitter, just like you can, at twitter.com/Press YYZ, saying a remastered trilogy available for the Switch would
Yeah.
be nice. I'd argue make it available anywhere. That'd
Yes.
be great. At very least, make the combat system the same across all three
Yeah.
games. So would you want to see
That
them
would
mess with the mechanics or just remaster
That
it
would
where
be-
it lives up to modern visuals and is playable wherever you want to play it?
That would be interesting because I feel like 2 and 3 are fine. I feel like you can play 2 and 3 and you won't have any problems. It would just be 1 that they would have to mess around with, and I
Basically,
don't.
just remake it.
Yeah, and I don't know if that would be worth doing. So one of the biggest things I just want to say about the remaster thing is, I mean, obviously I absolutely agree. I think it should be available on the Switch. The fact that it's not, most like games from that generation, from the 7th generation, is it the 7th or the 6th for the
It doesn't matter.
whatever. Those games are like made for the Switch. They should be available. And EA is sitting on a gold mine of franchises between Dead Space, Mass Effect, Skate. Like they need to release
Skate 4.
those games.
The only Mass Effect game available on a Nintendo system was Mass Effect 3 for the
Yeah.
Wii U. Woo!
Like it
Remember
wouldn't,
that?
like it wouldn't even cost, like if they did like just a bare minimum remake, or not even, like if they just did a bare minimum remaster and just put them available on these systems, they would sell a lot of money.
Just look at what
They would make a
EA
lot
is
of money.
doing with Episode 1 Pod Racer, releasing it on modern consoles. They're not making it look that much better. They're making it HD, that's about it. And they're releasing it for the Switch, the PS4, over the next couple of weeks. Just do the same thing with Mass Effect. Give it a fresh coat of gloss and just throw it out.
Yeah.
See what people think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is, you know, I can understand the logic of, hey, we want to release this remaster of this game in anticipation of a new game in this series coming out soon. We want both releases to synergize with one another and feed into each other. I do think that Mass Effect is one of these series where you can release it whenever, and there doesn't need to have a new Mass Effect title coming out for some of the older releases to do well. So
Yeah.
it's frustrating because like at this point it has been so many years. I feel like we're probably only going to get a remaster of the original trilogy when the next Mass Effect title is ready to go. But I feel like it is genuinely one of those cases where it's just money sitting on the table.
I mean, if they take the Activision approach of, hey, we're sitting on Spyro, we're sitting on Crash, let's just remaster those games, put them out, they'll sell, and then we can figure out what we want to do next with the franchise.
Yeah.
I think that's enough for Mass Effect right now.
There's
In terms of a potential sequel, like Nathan and I didn't play these games because the mechanics didn't grab us. It needs to be something that feels modern, plays modern.
Yeah.
Look at something like Final Fantasy VII Remake as an example, a template to build from.
I would
Focus
say-
on the story, give us the mechanics that feel good in combat. You can stick with your character choices because that's BioWare blood at this point.
I would
put out something
I
fun.
honestly would say a better example of like a game that they should be looking towards is The Witcher
Yes.
3. Like I think The Witcher 3 is a kind of prime example of what an RPG can be. And I think one of the biggest things that I think the reason why they haven't released the Mass Effect trilogy on modern consoles is because of it would just kind of this might be just me projecting a little bit, but I think it's just because that if they did release the Mass Effect trilogy, it would show just how bad Andromeda was because it really like they don't want to just push down one of their products that they're currently selling.
Here,
to be like,
why I
hey,
think
look
it
how
can't
old
here's
just be a
my rehabilitation suggestion real quick. Do the whole remake remaster thing. Give Mass Effect 1 the updated controls, the updated graphics and everything that the next iterations had. Get to Mass Effect 3 and don't choose an ending, but make a game that can start from any of the endings. There is a way to do it.
I don't know if that's possible. That
you would need to create a new
Like, that would be-
protagonist, right? And yeah, it would have to.
Yeah.
But there could. The next generation of consoles are going to be powerful enough that they could handle that much writing.
I just don't,
I think it's possible.
Think that would be possible. I don't think that would be possible to have a point where you can have an ending, or where you can choose a point where the ending of Mass Effect 3 is, where you can kind of project like wherever it was gonna, just the way the Mass Effect 3, the implications that it had on the rest of the bigger universe. I don't think that there's a thing that you can do to really be like this. I don't think you can do a Blade Runner 2049 for Mass Effect, where it's like you don't have to know exactly what the ending is or what all of this means. You can just kind of pick it up from here and the universe continues. What I think that they should potentially do, despite that, I mean, they have a good jumping off point. Do Andromeda again, but maybe do Andromeda 250 years from now, where have been established and they have basically the universe again, and you can go from here and you can expand the world without having this ever looming doomsday threat that is going to have to reset the universe again. Like you can just kind of have the Mass Effect universe without the idea of the Reaper threat, I think is what I would want to see happen.
I mean, unfortunately, at this point, all of this is real fun to talk about, but ultimately, EA and BioWare are going to choose what they do with this franchise, and what they may choose is nothing. We're just going to have to wait and see.
So,
yep, and we're going to have to wait until the next Dragon Age at least to maybe know what they're going to do with Mass Effect.
So, I want to ask everybody here questions about Mass Effect series' mechanics. First, I want to talk about the morality system. The Mass Effect trilogy kind of popularized the very kind of binary morality system, where it's like, do you want to make the very distinctly good-natured Paragon choice, or do you want to make the very distinctly bad-natured Renegade choice? And that received, it has in the years since received a lot of criticism for, again, its binariness. But I do want to know, do you think that the next Mass Effect title should nonetheless go ahead and feature a system that is cut from the exact same cloth as that system, or you think it should feature something a little bit more modern? Because I know that we're inclined to say it should feature something more modern, but in the era that we're currently living in right now, where there are very few games that feature that kind of binary sort of system, it could be viewed positively as like a cool throwback to an era that we don't really get anymore.
They should absolutely go and it kind of expand it doesn't dilute it. I don't know. Not make it less binary. Give it more gray area decisions that aren't as obviously blue or red. Paragon, Renegade, good, evil, for sure.
They did do something similar to that with Mass Effect Andromeda, where they just completely removed Paragon and Renegade, and they just had like, do you want to be like compassionate, or do you want to be like a little ruthless? Like they gave like different symbols for the different choices, where I think what I would say is I'd want them to bring back Paragon and Renegade, because I think that's so entwined with the Mass Effect identity. But one of the biggest problems that I had with the original trilogy was once you kind of choose, I'm going to play Paragon or I'm going to play Renegade, you have to stick with that. You can't really go any other direction, because otherwise you're not going to have enough Paragon or Renegade points to be able to make critical decisions later on that are locked behind those, that you need to be like a certain level of Paragon or Renegade. So I would say make it so that you can like what AJ was saying, like you can be more gray. You can choose. You can be more purple. You can choose if you wanna be a little Paragon or a little Renegade, depending on the context of the situation.
More like New Vegas.
Yeah. Like New Vegas is
take rock paper scissors and add Lizard and Spock to it, sort of thing. Like add more options. That
sick Big Bang Theory.
Hell yeah!
Reference.
I just had to. I had to Google it.
We're a nerdy
That's
video
us.
game podcast.
And on the subject of mechanics, the other thing I want to discuss is the complexity of the series combat. Many longtime Mass Effect fans have been vocal about the fact that the first Mass Effect game is much more of a tactical role-playing game experience, and then by the time that you get to Mass Effect 3, it's way more of a third-person shooter with some role-playing elements added in. Do you feel like it should stay the course of the direction that Mass Effect 3 is going and remain more of a third-person shooter, or should we kind of regress things and make things more like I said, tactical, feature like more in-depth mechanics and systems that you can level up and really customize your character on a very granular level?
I personally would want them to go in a way, I already referenced this game once, but I'd want them to do systems sort of similar to The Witcher 3 and how they implemented like combat systems in that, where it's like in The Witcher 3, it's like you have to know which equipment you need to use depending on what enemy you're fighting. If it's a monster, you have to use your silver sword, or you have to use your steel sword for humans. And I'd want them to have more nuance in like the actual like I want them to have more role-playing mechanics because like in Mass Effect 2 and 3, they kind of got rid of a lot of those RPG mechanics, and it became less emphasized, and I'd want them to bring it back, but maybe still, I think Mass Effect 2 and 3 are fun shooters, but I think you can still have those RPG mechanics and have them still.
Speaking of controls, I played it I played Mass Effect 3 the year after it came out, and I 100% used the Kinect voice controls on it. So bring those back, because those were good.
Do you think the Series X is going to have a connector?
No, but
really?
the
I
X.
think it'll have Cortana.
I don't know about Cortana necessarily. I wish she was there. I love her. But I know Alexa and the Google Assistants are compatible in some sort of beta right now with Xbox One. So
you just pissed off anyone that listens to us that has an Amazon Alexa.
There's at least 2 other people on this podcast who could accidentally trigger it just by saying their own name. So
is there any other mechanics you wanted to bring up about Mass Effect, or do you think? I think we've gotten a pretty good sense of a lot of the problems with the series and what some fixes could potentially be. Are there any other mechanics you wanted to talk about, Cozy?
No, I think that's about it for now. I'm sure that like I could bring up a million different.
Bring back the alien sex.
I'm sure that we could.
Don't worry. That's crucial to Mass Effect's identity.
I'm sure that we could go in a million different directions in terms of trying to speculate what the next game in the series could do, but I feel like those are the 2 main things that I wanted to hit on for the time being. I think those are the 2 most pertinent things to discuss when we talk about how do you reboot Mass Effect in the year 2020, 2021, etc. So on.
I'm just going to quickly throw my suggestion out because I don't have experience with the series. But there's another series that I got into last year, and I'd never played another one. It was because Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So I don't know if there's a way to, not Odyssey it, but have some sort of big open world or something similar to that with the RPG elements. But really create a fresh starting point and make it seem like a fresh starting point for people, because that's what Odyssey felt like.
So can I ask you a question, Nathan?
Yep.
Are you, in your mind's eye, do you like the idea of a Mass Effect game that is set on a single planet or location and is this vast open world that you can just travel to any place you want to get to on foot? Or are you more open to a Mass Effect game where it's spread across multiple planets and it is a large world, but only cumulatively when you add everything up?
I kind of like the idea of the smaller focus on the one planet. To be honest, and maybe start with one planet in the first one, and then open it up as you get to further entries.
I'm not against that idea either, but it's the Mass Effect series identity, I feel, is so heavily tied with going to planet and it being this intergalactic adventure.
Yeah.
So maybe it could do something along the lines of what Jedi Fallen Order did. Have 3 or 4 really well fleshed out planets and a ship as a hub to get between them.
And that's
take some cues from that game as well.
That's kind of what they attempted to do with Andromeda, but I feel like they could better implement the exploration, hopefully.
Here, I have an idea. Take the series away from BioWare and give it to Respawn. It's worked with other games.
I mean, I'm going to say, the 3 pillars of Mass Effect were conversation, combat, and exploration, and I think all 3 of those pillars need to be strong for a Mass Effect game to succeed.
Yes.
And I feel like that's what
Agreed.
Mass Effect Andromeda was missing, and I can only hope, because Mass Effect is one of my favorite franchises. It's up there with Halo, it's up there with Doom. I love it so much, and I want to see it be good again, and I really hope that it
in order to build those pillars, keep it in the oven for the 3 years and don't shrink it down to 2 years because you want to make more money.
No, give it 5.
Yes.
Give it 5 years.
Give it more time in the oven, and it should be fine.
Give it as much time as it needs.
EA needs to trust their developers to put out good stuff. They've done that with other games now since Andromeda came out, so hopefully they've learned their lesson.
Yep.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. And with
Babies always come out better when they're delayed.
Yes. And with that is the end of Video Game Rehab for Mass Effect. I enjoyed my conversation. I enjoyed the conversation we had with it. Yes, I enjoyed listening to myself talk. And with that, we are wrapping up Press YYZ episode 13. You can follow us on Twitter.
Next week?
Oh, yes, you are right. Next week, we are going to be bringing back 5x5, and the topic of 5x5 will be non-traditional
Hell
sports
yeah.
games with Nathan hosting. So please look forward
Oh,
to
I
that.
can't wait for this.
I'm very
Send
excited.
those-
About
I've been
it,
hosting
too.
a 5x5.
Send your own choices in on Twitter, twitter.com/pressyyz, email pressyyz@gmail.com.
Yeah, if you want to keep them secret, because I'm the one hosting, and I might have some that I can put in for the secret round, just send them to me.
And where can
So-
people find you?
At _NMAC on Twitter. Don't forget to follow me on ps4blog.net, where I do reviews for, like I said just recently, CKO Shooting Stars Bravo.
And where can people find you, Mitch?
You can find me not Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, PSN at Mr. Mitch George. You can also find me running the social channels for the Kinda Funny Toronto fan group.
And Cozy, where can people find
You
you?
can find me on Twitter at Alex Kazina. I am just about to hit 500 followers, and if you are my 500th follower, I may do something very nice for you. You can also find me on twitch.tv/CozyBearLive, where I'm going to be streaming Star Wars Battlefront 2 single-player campaign and Final Fantasy VII Remake in just a few minutes, so please go and check that out if you like video games, Alexander Kazina, and Twitch all at once.
And AJ?
You can find me all over the internet at TimesHero, capital T, capital H.
And I am on Twitter at blatantly_Alex and on Instagram at blatantlyalex. YouTube now with Blatant Films. And also keep tuned with the twitch.tv/Press YYZ account, because I plan on doing my Doom Eternal with the Steam controller stream very soon, as well as I feel like I'm just going to keep playing Halo on it, and maybe other games as well.
I think I'm going to jump in there too for my Final Fantasy VII Remake hard mode playthrough, so check that out as well.
Yes.
Sweet.
And with that, that is the end of episode 13 of Press YYZ. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for playing.
Go Leafs, go!
Boo!